Tonight we are going to talk about the mother wound. But the relationship with a mother is designed by God to be the first interaction when we're born. And the mother wound is something that most of us probably experience. I'm panicking, I'm upset. We carry a fear that the mother wounds that we have will repeat the same patterns with our own kids. That does not have to be true. I'm so happy y'all are here tonight. And so tonight we are going to talk about the mother wound. And the mother wound is something that most of us probably experience to some extent, to some degree. And a lot of times we don't know that that's what it is. We don't know that that's what's going on. We could say, oh, I have a difficult relationship with my mom. Oh, my mom's just my mom. She's just in that box. But a lot of times there's a lot of things that happened in our childhood that have come along with us in our adulthood and make us who we are, which impacts every single decision that we make relationally in all types of relationships, not just dating and marriage, but I mean in friendships and how we perceive ourselves, our relationship with God and relationship with ourselves. And I also wanted to mention something that I thought was really great today with the fact that it's raining today. I don't know if you know this, but in film, whenever there's a rain scene or a storm scene, it represents a shift or a change in a character's personality or traits. So today, with it raining like this, is so appropriate to signify a shift for us. A shift. Today is the shift, Not to be cliche with the whole, today's the first day of the rest of your life thing, but today and tonight, what you do here, what you acknowledge here, what you feel here, what you allow yourself to feel here can be the thing that shifts you from this point forward. I'll never forget the time that I experienced a shifting like that, and I will never forget it. It was so apparent and so obvious. So I just want to mention that tonight, as we do some mother work, that you're open to this, that you let yourself feel the feelings. This is one of those classes like that. We will do some inner work, some work with ourselves, some work with a partner, but I just want you to know that this is the space, if never before, that you can admit to some things that maybe you've held in for way, way, way too long. And we're not calling anybody the villain, and we're not making anybody the bad guy. That's not what this is about. This is not about that. But the facts are the facts, and your experiences and your feelings are valid, and how they've impacted your life are valid, and how they're continuing to impact your life is valid. So that's what we're here for, and that's why we're going to be honest about it. Before I start, let me say a prayer for us, okay? Dear Heavenly Father, God, I come to you and I thank you so much for your presence. I thank you for your presence in this room right now, Lord. All of the souls in this room, every single one of them, you know intricately, and you know their lives, you know their history, and you know their future. And God, I just thank you for that. I thank you that you care about us individually and that you know us so well individually, and that you brought each one of these women here for a reason today. And God, I just pray that you would come through in the words that are spoken, that you would come through in the things that we're going to look over and do, and God, that their hearts would be receptive, and that no shame would have place in here. We are not here to shame ourselves about the things that we feel like are shortcomings as a mother or as a daughter. And Lord, I just pray that that wouldn't have a place, and I pray that you would set women free tonight. Set them free. Give them something they've never had. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so I am going to start with your papers. I'm going to read a little bit with you before we get into some things. So, many people have heard the phrase daddy issues, but not many people talk about the mother wound. And when I say mother, remember, that can mean anybody that was like a mother figure in your life. That could be a grandmother, that could be a stepmother, that could be an adoptive mother, or a foster mother, or any of that. But the relationship with a mother is designed by God to be the first interaction when we're born. When a baby is born, and the mother holds the child, and the child looks at, eventually when the child opens its eyes and looks at the mother, what do babies do? If you smile at them, what do? They smile back, right? So what a mother's first relationship is with a child is so impactful on just cognitive development from the get-go, and that's just designed by God. So they're the first emotional relationship we ever experience is actually with our mothers. That is that mother-child bond. And I want to preface everything that I'm about to go into with this. If you're a mother in this room, do not take any of this information and shame yourself about your motherhood. We're not here as mothers tonight. We're here as daughters tonight. Okay? Agreed, please? That's not what this is for. So just remember that you are not here to beat yourself up and say, oh man, I've done that to my kid, or oh man, I haven't done that for my children. That's not what we're here for. You are somebody's daughter. You are a child on the inside. There is an inner child inside of you, and that's who we're here for. She gets to be first tonight. She's first. Even if you have kids, you can take this information and read it later as a mother. Tonight, we're not. Just want to preface. All right, so we learn fundamental truths about ourselves and the world around us through our connections with our mothers. So we begin to ask questions like, am I safe? Am I loved? Do my feelings matter? Am I important? Am I too much? Am I enough? And if it's not reciprocated in a certain way, then we go inward about those things and turn them into something negative. So when a mother's able to provide emotional warmth, empathy, and security, then a child develops a sense of safety in the whole world and inside of themselves. But when that connection is broken, or if it's inconsistent, or if it's absent completely, a child will develop what is called the mother wound. Okay? So a mother wound forms when a child does not receive the emotional nurturing, the validation, and safety that children are designed to receive from their mothers. So your mother could be physically present, but emotionally checked out. My mother was an alcoholic, and she was a workaholic. So she might have been home sometimes, but she was never there for me. She was not instilling emotional stability in me. That's where the mother wound starts to form. So it's not just about a physical absence whatsoever. So no matter the reason, the result is typically the same. The child internalizes that experience and assumes that the problem must be them. They don't think, oh, my mother's emotionally unavailable. They think something's wrong with me. So the mother wound is hard to talk about, and not many people do talk about it because we don't want to shame moms. You know, we get behind and we're not about trying to shame the moms. We're all doing our best, as we say, but that's not always true. Some of the things that the world says to us or instills as a belief in us actually becomes a shame base inside of us when we don't feel like that's what's happening for us. So when we hear things like, oh, well, all mothers love their children. Well, I never felt loved by my mom, so it must be me. You know, all mothers' love is unconditional. Well, my mom was very conditional. It must be me. And no one will ever love you like your mother. Well, I hope not, to be honest. And then mothers always want what is best for their children. Not true. Those actually aren't true. They should be true. We should be able to say that. It should be accurate for everybody, but I can guarantee you that most of the women sitting in this room have had some adverse childhood experiences with their mother that don't match those things, so they're not true. Healing has to begin with the truth, so we have to go over the truth. So I would like for you to raise your hand. I'm not gonna make you stand up because you got all your stuff, but I'd like you to raise your hand when I say these statements if they're true for you, because I want to see how we're feeling in the room, and that way you can also see that you're not alone in some of your circumstances. So raise your hand if you grew up feeling like you had to be perfect. Raise your hand if you felt responsible for your mother's emotions. If you still feel responsible for your mother's emotions. Yeah. Raise your hand if you felt like nothing you did was ever enough. Raise your hand if you learned to keep your emotions to yourself. Raise your hand if you became the strong one in your family. It's tiring, isn't it? It's exhausting. Raise your hand if you often felt unseen growing up. Yeah. So I want to play a little video. You're not going to see the video, you're going to hear the video, and that's all that you need to hear. But there's something really beautiful. It's a short video, and there's something so beautiful happening here. And I want us to listen to this. So this is a mom. She has her daughter in her lap, and she says, I'm going to say some sentences, and I want you to finish the sentences for me. And I want you to hear what is said.
Sentence, and you're going to tell me how you think a person would finish it. Okay. As long as you live under my roof.
I will be able to be out of the way.
So she said, as long as you live under my roof, and the little girl says, I will be able to be out of the rain. What an innocent finishing of that. Isn't that just the sweetest thing?
Be out of the way.
Good job, ladies. Thank you.
Into this world and
I brought you into this world and I love you. So she said, I brought you into this world, and the daughter says, and I love you? Because she'd never heard the opposite of that before, like what many of us probably have heard. Last one. I'll give you something to
So cute.
color with. Isn't that amazing? I just had to share that. I saw that video and the innocence of that child, obviously not having dealt with a mother that, says the bad ending to those. Now, if you've said those things to your children before, do not freak out. Do not blame yourself. Do not shame yourself. That's not what we're here for. I just wanted to share that because I want to talk to you about the brooch. So the brooch that you have, that you're wearing, I hope you chose a brooch that stuck out to you. If you didn't choose a brooch, then you need to definitely get one on your way out. Please do not forget. You've probably noticed that I wear brooches every day. I have so many brooches. I wear them every single day because when I put my brooch on, I look at myself in the mirror and I tell myself that I love myself. I tell myself that I'm enough. I tell myself that I am good. And I tell myself that I'm safe. And so I want you to use your brooch for things like that. That's to represent your inner child. That's me talking to my inner child whenever I'm putting that brooch on in the mornings. Because if I start that day honoring her and telling her who she is and that she's okay, I handle things a lot differently throughout the rest of the day. So the brooch has meaning. You can copy off of me and get a bunch of brooches too. I do not care. But I will share that. It is a wonderful thing. So we're on page 2 now, and I want to talk about how the mother wound happens. Because there's no single experience. It's not like just a one-time thing. It's a myriad of things. So like I said, it can be a mother that meets physical needs, but not emotional needs. And so the child is fed and clothed and cared for, but does not receive emotional comfort, warmth, or understanding. That could be a mom that was just really standoffish, didn't hug you, didn't touch you, didn't praise you or tear you down, just kind of was nothing. Dismissive or shames your emotions. So if you cry or you expressed fear or sadness, the response was criticism or dismissal, or go to your room until you calm down. Go to your room until you stop crying. And that child learns that their emotions are inconvenient or wrong. It could be a mother that maintained a highly critical or perfectionistic mindset. So nothing that the child ever did was quite good enough, and praise was really rare, but criticism was common. And then there's reverse roles and relies on the child emotionally. I dealt with this a lot with my mother. She was so emotionally unstable. We call this parentification, but in those situations, the child becomes the caretaker for the parent's emotional needs instead of the other way around. And if that happened to you, I want to explain something to you. Most of the things that you struggle with as a grown woman when it comes to boundaries and people pleasing and the performance-based relationships that you have in your life, they stem directly from that. If you had ever had emotional weight put on you as a child that was not yours to bear, it results in so many small, tiny things that we think are just personality traits. These are not personality traits. These were learned and programmed in you from what you experienced as a child. If the mother is absent physically or emotionally due to addiction, including men in toxic relationships, maybe she has a mental illness, she's just overwhelmed and stressed all the time, or she has unresolved trauma, that can result in a mother wound. And if she has the unresolved trauma, it makes it difficult for her to provide emotional safety because she can't even emotionally regulate herself. So for her to be able to regulate a child, is very, very hard. And so what all of this teaches us when we're growing up is that the person who's supposed to love us becomes the source of pain. How familiar does that sound? Does that sound like a dating relationship you've been in? Or a marriage you've been in? The person that's supposed to love you is actually the source of the pain? That's because we repeat these patterns. We get attracted to that. It becomes familiar in our spirit. It's familiar in our mind and familiar in our nervous system. Because even though that hurt growing up and it did damage, it's familiar. And so that's what we will naturally go to and gravitate to in a relationship. We will choose that. I just realized, do you have a paper? Did you get a paper? Oh, good. Look at me go. I left the extras out over there. Okay. So the core beliefs that get formed from the mother wound are things like, I'm not good enough, I'm too much, I must be perfect, I'm responsible for other people's emotions, my feelings don't matter, my needs are a burden. I bet every single one of you in this room feels like you're a burden to some degree at some point in your day. And I'm here to tell you you're not. You're not. Absolutely nothing about you is a burden. You deserve to take up space. You deserve to message people. You can speak up. You can talk about your feelings. You can have needs. You're not a burden for any of that. We can think I must earn love. That's that performance-based. Something is wrong with me. I must take care of everyone else. If I make mistakes, I'm going to get rejected. Love must be earned through the performance, and something is wrong with me. I thought that there was something fundamentally wrong with me for my entire life. I was just like, I'm just messed up. I'm just broken. Something's wrong with me. Maybe it's a bunch of things, but definitely something. And those beliefs operate below the surface of conscious awareness. So we're not just always, we say it to ourselves plenty, but it's not always like that. It's below that still. And so that quietly influences every decision, relationship, and your self-perception, the lens through which you see yourself, the lens through which you think the world sees you, the lens through which you receive anything from anyone else. It affects everything. So there is a list of common experiences in mother wounds and relationships, and I hope that you have a pen, because I want us to kind of just check these off. We're going to read them together, because part of this work is to be honest. If you need a pen, I will get you a pen. Mary Ann, was there a box right there? Can one of you two pass me that? Perfect. Thank you. You're welcome. Who needs a pen? Pen delinquents? No, I'm just kidding. I had a dream last night that somebody was throwing knives at me. I don't know what that was about. Okay. Anybody else need a pen? No? You do? Okay. All right, so let's go through this list together, and I just want you to just put a little asterisk next to one that might apply to you, okay? My mother made me feel responsible for her feelings. My mother treated me like her therapist instead of her child. My mother criticized me constantly. My mother compared me to other people. Now, that could be strangers. That could be a sibling. It could be her. My mother minimized my emotions or told me I was too sensitive. My mother ignored my emotional needs. My mother used guilt or manipulation. My mother used the silent treatment. My mother made me feel like a burden. My mother blamed me for problems in the family. My mother broke promises or was inconsistent. My mother chose partners, work, or other priorities over her children/me. So I want you to kind of look at that list and the things that might have applied to you. And then I want you to hear something. I want you to hear it very well. We're going to say this again later, but I want you to hear it from a voice outside of yourself. You did not deserve that. You did not deserve that. Any of the things that you checked on this list, you did not deserve. You deserved better. And like I said, we're not making mothers a villain, and we're not going to diagnose and fix our mothers right now, but it still has an impact. It still matters, and it's valid. It is very valid. So there's types of mothers that create these wounds, and it's not about a specific type. It can come from all different types of relationships, but a lot of times they're just controlling or dominating relationships. They're emotionally distant people. They're highly critical. They're volatile and unpredictable. The emotionally enmeshment, like a lot of parents get emotionally enmeshed with their child, and that's where we are dumping way too much on a kid and then expecting them to give everything back too and overshare, because there is no where do I start, where do you end kind of thing. We're just emotionally enmeshed. Don't you want to tell me everything? You're supposed to tell me everything. I'm telling you everything, but it's not supposed to be like that. That's called enmeshment. If they're guilt-inducing, my mother was a guilt tripper, like Olympic style. Focused on appearance, she was like that too, or reputation, because man, did she look good in front of everybody else. But unable to tolerate the child's independence, that's a threat to them. And I want to mention here something that a lot of people don't talk about. And it's a sad thing, and it's a hard thing to say, because it just shouldn't be like this. But a lot of times mothers are jealous. A lot of times mothers are jealous of their daughters, because you look at your daughter, and she's everything that maybe you wished that you were, or maybe you used to be. Not you, your mother, their mothers. They look at us and they see everything that they didn't get to do. They see a threat because even as vanity goes, they're aging. We're young and vital. They see us having every opportunity. They feel washed up and like they don't have any opportunity. So many things. I see so much jealousy with mothers, and it's so unnatural, but it really is happening a lot. And that is based in that's a serious hurt inside of her. That is not because of you. And that's the problem, is that we take it in and we think it's us. And that's where the wound lives. All right, I know some of you are still marking, and that's fine, but I'm going to talk about these a little bit, because I want to mention that when we're talking about the mother wound, like I said, it's not a one-time event that happens typically. It's these types of behaviors consistently over time. And usually a mother that engages in a couple of these behaviors. It's normally not just one thing, that's for sure. It normally comes in a myriad of things. And if you've experienced any of these things, not all of it is considered abuse, but we could easily consider it emotional neglect or emotional wounding. I mean, it's a deep, deep wound, these things that we are looking at here. So that's a narcissistic tactic. Triangulation is trying to pin you and somebody else against each other. But she's the healthy, good person in the mix. Your sister said this or thinks this about you, right? Like, you know that this is a problem, but she knows you're not going to go and address that person. So triangulation is always pinning you against another person, but somewhere she's in the middle, knowing it all the things, and you're somehow the bad guy. That's a for sure thing. I would like for you to look at this list. I just want you to take a look at it. And we're going to get to the part where we talk about the results of these kinds of experiences and how they show up in our lives, especially as adults. But I want you to take a look at this list. And I want you to give yourself so much grace. I want you to really think about a little girl experiencing these kinds of things. A 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, and she's experiencing these things from the person that's supposed to love her and nurture her. And I just want you to think about that for a second. We need to sit in it for a minute because we don't think about it enough. We just kind of blow and go through our life and we don't think about where it comes from. This is where it comes from. Okay? So on the next page, where it says how the mother wound shows up in adult life. So this talks about how most of the women struggle with boundaries and people pleasing after these types of mothered relationships because you find yourself repeatedly drawn into a pattern with emotionally unavailable or critical partners. Like I said earlier, it's what we're attracted to subconsciously, and our nervous system feels like it's familiar, so we call it attraction. So all of that results in lies that we tell ourselves. And I want you to identify some lies, and then we're going to do an exercise to debunk those lies. And so I want you to circle any of these lies that actually you tell yourself or have told yourself. And let's be brutally honest with ourselves, okay? Be honest. I am not important. Circle it if it applies to you. I will be abandoned. Circle it if it applies to you. I cannot trust anyone. I'm not lovable. My feelings do not matter. My needs are a burden. Something is wrong with me. I must earn love. I must be perfect. If people truly knew me, they would reject me. Personally, I will circle the whole paragraph. And that's okay. That's okay. So we're going to replace those lies with truth. And so here's what we're going to say. You survived things that were meant to destroy you.
You survived things that were meant to destroy you.
You deserved love.
You deserved love.
You deserved protection.
You deserved protection.
You deserved nurturing.
You deserved nurturing.
You were never too much.
You were never too much.
You were never the problem.
You were never the problem.
You are worthy of healing.
You are worthy of healing.
You are deeply loved.
You are deeply loved.
You are safe.
You are safe.
I am your safe person.
I am your safe person.
I love you. Very good job. Very good job. Now, saying I love you can be really hard sometimes. It can be really hard for the first time, especially for people. But it's so important. So when we can't seem to tell ourselves that we love ourselves, it's because, good news, you're not a liar. And you feel, though, deep down, that you're lying by saying that. Because you feel like you don't love yourself somewhere deep down, or at least you don't like yourself very much, or you don't like parts of yourself. And so you feel like to say I love you means that you have to love and accept and truly appreciate and like every aspect of who you are. And if you don't, then you can't love yourself. Does that sound familiar? Okay. But I would ask you, when you tell your spouse, your child, anybody that you love them, me, are those perfect people? Are any of them perfect people? Will they ever be? No. But you still love them. You truly do. You still love them. I need you to do it for yourself. You need to do it for yourself. You don't have to be perfect to love yourself. And starting to untangle the lies that we believe about ourselves that keep us in that self-doubt, self-hate, negative self-image, you'll be able to say I love you to yourself easier and easier, A, the more you say it, and B, the more you give yourself grace throughout the day. So understanding where these things come from and what this is that's inside of you, the parts that you don't like about yourself, they all have a reason. It makes sense. It's not you. It might be parts of you and inside of you right now, but it's not you. It's not who you are. It's not your identity. It's just the result of things that you've experienced. It's not you. So all those things that you don't feel like you can say I love you because of, they aren't even you anyway. So I just want to remind you of that. You are loved and you're worthy. You deserve to love yourself. You deserve to love yourself. And I hope and I pray for every single one of you to get there, because it's a beautiful, beautiful, awesome place to be. It's wild and it's weird, but it's awesome. So I just want to let you know what that is, so that when you look in the mirror and you have trouble saying I love you to yourself, what you might start with is I accept you. Just accept that woman. Accept that person. And validate her. Girl, you went through this, this, and that, and you still came out like this? Well, dang. And also, you went through this, this, and that, and you're struggling with this? That makes sense. Exact ways that you would talk to a friend or me if I came to you with the same struggles. Please start talking to yourself that way. I promise it will change your life. So we talked about the mother wounds, kind of talked about where they come from, and I want to validate you in what you're experiencing because of them. So that whole list we said earlier, is all these things that our mother did. Well, what does that do to us? So there's a page that says, because of these wounds I experience. This is to validate you, to get you to understand that you're not broken. These things are part of the mental programming that you endured as a child. So difficulty maintaining boundaries is something that I'm pretty sure almost all of us are struggling with. Yes. We have a boundaries class and a people-pleasing class. It's coming. So that one's exciting for me. I cannot wait for that when we're going to kick the devil in the teeth in that class. It's going to be awesome. Most of us struggle with low self-worth. Oh my goodness. And my self-worth being in the gutter my whole life. My whole life. And so we make the worst choices for ourselves. We let people treat us like crap. We accept it because somewhere deep inside of us, we think we deserve it. But we don't. We don't. That is because of a mother wound. It is because of, or a parental wound. Father wounds are coming too, but it's that childhood wounding, that low self-worth comes from that. It's not truth. It's not truth. Just because you think it doesn't make it true. Consistently feeling not enough or too much. I hear it all the time. I felt it all the time. Finding children's tantrums and crying very distressing. I hear a child cry and a lot of mothers go, oh. I go, whoa, and run the other way. Truly. I want to affirm anybody else that's struggling with that, because for a long time I thought that was like I'm not womanly, or I'm not feminine, or I don't have a motherly bone in my body, like something's wrong with me, because it literally repulses me to hear a child cry. But it comes from this. And it's because your inner child, when she hears that, she remembers doing that and nobody being there for her at some point. Or she was doing that and someone told her to shut up, or someone told her she was being too much. So that is what that is. So it's not that you're not mother material, and it's not that you're not a woman or nurturing or anything like that. So I just want you to know what that is, because I struggled with that for a long time. An inability to fully rest or relax. 2 hands! Fully resting and relaxing. So that is because of that hypervigilant state that you stayed in for so long that your mind wants to stay in even as an adult. And then feeling responsible for the happiness of others. That's that people-pleasing, the negative self-talk, persistent feelings of guilt or shame, Fear of abandonment, which also plays into your attachment style. I'll talk about attachment styles in a class coming up, but when we have a fear of abandonment, that develops us into a certain type of attachment style, which means in relationships, the way that we chase, the way that we bend, and then the way that we manipulate to keep, that's fear of abandonment wounds. Dismissing or invalidating your own feelings, dismissing or invalidating your own needs, negative body image, of course. I have an eating disorder because of my mother wounds. I know that that's where it stems from. Numbing out or just disassociating from your feelings, just not feeling, not able to tap into those feelings, not able to cry. Opening up either too quickly or too slowly to new people, that can get us hurt because we're just searching for some love and some validation and to be heard. And if we do that with the wrong person and they don't reciprocate or they shut us down or they tell our business to someone else, that's really upsetting. But we're doing that because that little girl she just wants to tell mommy what happened at the end of the day. And then she wants mommy to care. So now mommy is everybody else in the world. And so that's where that comes from. A history of unfulfilling or even abusive relationships stem from parental wounds, specifically the mother wound, a lot of the times. Fear and avoidance of conflict. Woo! That one gets us in people pleasing and not setting boundaries when we're afraid of conflict at all. Because we think conflict equals negative reaction, rejection, shut down, all these things. So that's why we people please. Treatment-resistant depression, so like a chronic depression problem, stems from these types of wounds. CPTSD, panic disorder or anxiety. Unrelenting exhaustion or overwhelm. So I'm just overwhelmed all the time. I can't seem to just not be overwhelmed about things. Even when I tell myself it's all good, it's not all good. And so that also comes from this. So a lot of anxiety disorders stem from these kinds of mother wounds. So I just wanted to say all of this for you to understand. Oh, and addiction. Addiction habits definitely can stem from this because they're coping mechanisms. Eating disorders, coping mechanism. Toxic relationships, honestly, coping mechanism. So all of that is where this stems from so that you can feel validated that it's not you and that there's a reason. There's a reason, but it's healable. So if you deal with chronic self-doubt, anxiety and perfectionism, difficulty expressing your emotions, people-pleasing, loss of identity, or toxic relationship patterns, that's most likely where it comes from. So how do we fix it? We start to reparent ourselves. That's what our brooch is about. We're going to reparent ourselves. That woman in the mirror that you saw earlier, you get to reparent her. You get to mother her. Now, this isn't mothering like we did when we were kids and had to raise ourselves. This isn't the same thing. This is being an emotionally present person and a safe person for yourself, which is different. It is different. So reparenting doesn't mean blaming your mothers forever, and it doesn't mean pretending that your past doesn't matter. It means recognizing that we now have the ability to respond to our own emotions, our needs, and our wounds with compassion, wisdom, and care. So many of us learn to speak to ourselves the way that our mother spoke to us. I know that terrible self-talk that I lived with for so long is my mother's voice 1,000 times 1,000. And the biggest thing I never wanted to do was be like my mother, but yet I was like my mother to myself. And if our mother was critical, then our inner voice is usually critical. If our emotions were dismissed, then we dismiss our own feelings, tell ourselves we're too much or we're stupid. If we were told that we were too sensitive or dramatic, then we judge ourselves for having emotions at all, and we shut them down and we push them down. Part of healing that mother wound is changing that internal voice. That's why that exercise with the mirrors that we did, those things are in these papers. You get to take these papers home. So that means that you have a mirror in your bathroom. And you can say those things to yourself every day, multiple times a day if you want, and you should, because you have got to change that internal voice. Think about how many years, when we grow up in those developmental years, how many years the parents are speaking over us and speaking things into us. All of that grows us into a certain way. So it takes years to undo as well. Not as many years when it's active work, but it takes a conscious effort. It doesn't just go away. So instead of criticizing yourself when you make a mistake, I want you to be compassionate with yourself when you make a mistake. That's why I say pretend like you're talking to a friend or pretend like there's a 6-year-old next to you. You wouldn't look to her and say, "You're so stupid." Gah! I hope none of you would do that. I don't think you would. So don't do it to yourself. Instead of ignoring your needs, listen to your needs. What do I need right now? I'm panicking. I'm upset. What are my feelings? What do I need? I did this to myself in my kitchen literally 2 days ago. I was just crying over my sink, trying to clean a chicken. I don't know. It happened. And so I'm like, what do I need right now? What am I feeling right now? And I named them. I was like, I'm frustrated. I'm sad, I'm mad, and I'm hurt. Okay, what do I need? I'm gonna go sit in the bath. And it was wonderful. So that's what that looks like. That's reparenting. Because if a little girl if you walked in and your daughter's standing in the kitchen crying over the sink, wouldn't you ask her what's going on? What are you feeling? And then give her a need, like feel a need for her. You are that person. You are that little girl, and you've got to parent her. So instead of pushing ourselves endlessly to earn approval, we have to allow ourselves to rest, allow ourselves to set boundaries, and have some self-care. Self-care is important. It is so important. So we have to become the nurturing and supportive presence in our own lives that we needed when we were younger. If you do this right now, it will change you. It will change how you show up in every room. It'll change how you show up in all your relationships. It'll change how you show up as a mother. It will make you, quote unquote, the best version of yourself, which I hate saying that, but it does amazing things when we start to do these kinds of things. So it can look like learning to comfort yourself when you're hurting instead of shaming yourself for being emotional, because I could have stood over that sink and I could have said, Lindsay, this is stupid. What is wrong with you? You have nothing to be ungrateful about. You have nothing to cry about. What's your problem? That sounds like my mother. Sounds just like her. So I didn't say that. I want to do different. I want to do better. I want to parent myself better. I deserve better. And so it means that setting boundaries with other people when they treat us poorly, because that shows us that we stand up for ourselves. Like I remember being somewhere with my mother and a grown man grabbing me inappropriately, and she didn't stand up for me. But I would stand up for me now, and I darn sure would stand up for a little girl. So that would have been a boundary setting with another person right in front of me to prove, what would that have proved to me if she would have stood up for me? It would have proved to me that she could protect me, that she wanted to protect me, that she was safe. Do you know that you're safe? And if you're not setting boundaries, you're not telling that little child inside that she's safe and that she's protected and that she has a protector, but she does, and it's you. So that's why the boundaries are so important. Even on the small things, and I'm going to quote unquote that, because if it needs a boundary, it's not small. So even if that feels unfamiliar and uncomfortable, that's why it's so important. It might mean also learning to celebrate our success instead of immediately minimizing them. I say celebrate the small things. That's my favorite thing to do, is to tell you guys, celebrate the small things, all of the small things. I'm serious. Like, I got home really late last night, and I still ate dinner. That's a win for me, because I could have just gone to bed without, but I ate dinner because I knew I needed to eat. So it's the small things. I don't know. Maybe it's washing your hair. Maybe it's brushing your teeth. Whatever it is, celebrate them all. You deserve to be celebrated. And moms, a lot of times that caused the mother wound, they usually weren't celebratory moms, unless it was like an achievement thing. But I mean just the day-to-day celebration of things. So many of us carry anger or embarrassment towards the younger version of ourselves that stayed in unhealthy relationships. So if you've ever been in an abusive relationship or a toxic relationship, or you struggle to speak up for yourself or your own kids, but that younger version of you was doing the best she could with the tools she had. And I want to remind you of that. What do I say? You don't know what you don't know until you know it. So that also ties into that shame and that guilt that we believe. How many things do we shame ourselves about that it actually is very true, like, but I didn't know. I didn't know what I know now. So I couldn't do what I would do now. I didn't have the tools then. So that is all about grace and compassion for ourselves. So healing really does happen when we begin to treat that younger version of ourselves with kindness instead of judgment. No judging. We do not judge. That is very important. So we've got to become the safe person for ourselves. And if you'll go to the next page, I talk about breaking the cycle. A lot of us, myself included, we carry a fear that the mother wounds that we have will repeat the same patterns with our own kids. That does not have to be true. When we become aware of the patterns we experience, we can begin choosing new responses instead of repeating old ones. That's completely within our power. Healing allows us to develop healthier boundaries, healthier communication, and healthier relationships, and allows us to give the next generation something different. And that's what you're doing in this room. Even if you don't have kids yet, I'm so proud of you. Girl, you're in here doing this work. You're in here making a difference, because this will change. This will change things forever. And I just want to remind you that the first step is to acknowledge the wound, like we did with all those lists, understand the impact of it, like we did with the list that talked about, what those things are that you probably thought were problems within yourself, but give you the why behind them. Then we have to replace the lies with the truth, which is what we did in the mirror. And then we have to develop healthy boundaries. And sometimes that means redefining how we interact with our mother if she's still in your life, or limit the influence of relationships that continue to cause harm. Maybe it's not just her. We'll talk about that in the boundary class too, though. But then we have to practice the self-compassion. The self-compassion. It is so, so, so important. Let's do the declaration together. This is a powerful one, so let's say it out loud together. Here we go. Today, I acknowledge the wounds I experienced growing up. I will no longer minimize them, excuse them, or pretend they did not affect me. What happened to me mattered, and the pain I carried was real. But those wounds are not my identity, and they will not define my future. Today, I release the lies that were planted in me through criticism, neglect, shame, rejection, and emotional abandonment. I reject the belief that I am too much, not enough, difficult, unlovable, or a burden. Those lies do not belong to me anymore. Today, I choose truth. I am worthy of love, respect, and kindness. My voice matters. My feelings matter. My needs matter. I do not have to earn love through perfection, performance, or sacrifice. Wanting encouragement, comfort, protection, and understanding was never weakness. It was a basic human need. Today, I release the blame I carried for things that were never my responsibility. The pain I experienced will not control the rest of my life. The cycles that wounded me will not continue through me. The patterns that began before me will end with me. I choose healing. I choose truth. I choose freedom. I will speak to myself with compassion instead of criticism. I will protect myself with healthy boundaries. I will allow myself to grow, rest, and become the woman I was created to be. From this moment forward, I step out of the identity of the wounded child and into the identity of a strong, healing, resilient woman. My past may be part of my story, but it is not the end of it. I walk forward in truth, healing, and freedom. Yes, give yourselves a hand for that one.
Thanks so much for watching the Mother Wounds video. I hope that it has encouraged you and brought healing to the little girl in you. Rewatch it as many times as you need and make sure to say those declarations. They really do make a difference. We hope to catch you in the next one, and like always, like, share, and subscribe. Bye.